Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, and welcome to my talk, PostgreSQL and Machine Learning. My name's Dave Page. I work at EDB in our CTO office. I've also worked on PostgreSQL for over 20 years. I'm a member of the core team and the PG admin lead developer. So what is PostgreSQL? It's billed as the world's most advanced open source database. It's a relational SQL-based database, fully enterprise ready, and also increasingly being seen replacing Oracle, SQL Server, DB2 and other more traditional commercial systems. It's used in pretty much every sector you can think of, including government, law enforcement, and financial and healthcare. And it's quite possibly the most SQL standard compliant database there is. Perhaps most importantly for the talk today, it's highly extensible. You can have plug-in extension modules that add additional functionality, stored procedures, data types, operators, and so on. And there are a variety of procedural languages you can add, giving support for things like Python, Perl, R, and Java, and so on. So the talk today is on PostgreSQL and machine learning. The extensibility that I mentioned a moment ago gives us the perfect opportunity to combine the power of SQL with machine learning techniques. Why do we want to do this? Well, primarily flexibility. Our data is already in the database, so we can use SQL to choose and format the data that we want to analyze. SQL is designed for working with data sets, much as we'd use in machine learning. We can use standard constructs like select from, where, to select data directly from tables, but we can combine that with the use of mathematical functions and operators such as square root, log, and many more that are available. We can also use aggregates and window functions and common table expressions to roll up and give us the exact data that we want to analyze. So what would we want to do this for? Well, pretty much anything really. Some obvious examples, and probably in fact the most obvious use case, is regression analysis. So we can detect patterns in data and predict results. For example, customer retention or churn based on the support tickets they've logged and the average time to resolution. We could do text classification for comments on a website. We can do image classification as well if images are stored in the database, though typically we don't actually recommend doing that. Time series prediction is another favorite topic of mine. We can use time series prediction to do capacity management for server infrastructure. So how can we do this? I'm going to give a couple of examples. The first one's Apache Madlib. So this was originally developed by VMware, previously known as Pivotal, previously known as EMC Greenplum, as well as academics at UC Berkeley. It works with both PostgreSQL and Greenplum, which is a fork of Postgres designed for clustered data warehousing. The website describes it as a powerful machine learning graph, statistics, and analytics for data scientists library. What that means for us, practically speaking, in terms of doing tasks such as regression analysis, is it gives us a set of pre-built functions that we can use to perform the analytics that we need. Now, one downside with Apache Madlib is installation is somewhat convoluted. There are no pre-built RPMs or Debian packages, etc., to make deployment simple. It's certainly not impossible, but it's more difficult than we would generally like. In the screenshot on this slide, we can see Apache Madlib in use. In this case, doing a very simple regression analysis on the Boston housing dataset. It's very quick to run, and it's very quick and easy to use. As you can see, there are just 2 SQL queries, basically. And this is a great way to get started with regression-type tasks. We might also consider using the PL Python 3U procedural language. So this is one of the standard procedural languages that ships with Python, and it allows us to use any of the common Python machine learning and related libraries, for example TensorFlow, PyTorch, and NumPy and Pandas. Because we're writing code in Python, this gives us complete control to write whatever we need. To make it work, we simply need to install the Python modules in the Python environment used by the PostgreSQL server, and then run the create function SQL commands to create the functions that we want to use. In this screenshot, we can see an example. This is a stored procedure I've written called TF model, which you pass a simple SQL query to, or a more complex SQL query if you like, that will give it the data that needs to be analyzed, pass it an array that describes the TensorFlow model to create, and the names and location of the analysis so that it knows where to store files and what to call things. And what this function is actually doing is creating the TensorFlow model, running through training. It's using techniques such as early stopping and so on. And it's generating and saving a model that we can then later call from another stored procedure. So that was a very quick overview of just a couple of the possibilities of machine learning with PostgreSQL. In conclusion, we can combine the power of SQL with machine learning. So we can do complex SQL queries to get the data sets that we want to analyze. If you want to do very quick regression analysis, then Apache Madlib is a great place to start. And if you want the flexibility of being able to write code yourself to do whatever you need, any kind of analysis at all, then PL Python 3U is a great choice. Thank you very much for your time.